Hoboken, New Jersey, March 4th, 1946. A small apartment. Second floor, one bedroom, peeling wallpaper. A man sat at a kitchen table, 28 years old, thin, shaking hands. His name was James Sullivan. 3 months ago, he'd been Sergeant James Sullivan, 101st Airborne, Battle of the Bulge, Purple Heart. Now he was just Jim, unemployed, haunted, barely sleeping. In front of him was a piece of paper, a pen. He'd been staring at them for an hour, trying to find the words. Finally, he started writing. Dear Mr. Sinatra, you don't know me, but your music saved my life, and I need to tell you why. What happened over the next 3 months didn't just change Jim Sullivan's life. It created a blueprint for how Frank Sinatra would help veterans for the next 40 years. This is the story they never told on Veterans Day. James Sullivan enlisted in 1942. He was 24 years old, from Hoboken, same neighborhood where Frank Sinatra grew up. Jim had heard Frank sing at local clubs before Frank got famous. He remembered thinking, that kid's going places. Jim went to war, Europe, France, Belgium, Germany, 101st Airborne, paratrooper. He jumped into Normandy on D-Day, survived. He fought through France, survived. He was at Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge, December 1944, surrounded by German forces, freezing, starving, under constant artillery fire. He survived. But something broke inside him. He came home in January 1946. His family threw a party. Welcome home, hero. But Jim didn't feel like a hero. He felt hollow, empty, haunted. Every night, he had the same nightmare. Bastogne. The cold, the explosions, the screaming. He'd wake up sweating, heart pounding, couldn't go back to sleep. His hands shook constantly. Loud noises made him drop to the ground. He couldn't hold a job, too jumpy, too distracted. His girlfriend left him. You're not the same person. She was right. He wasn't. The VA gave him pills. Shell shock, they said. It'll pass. It didn't pass. By March 1946, Jim was thinking about ending it. Then one night, he heard a song on the radio. Frank Sinatra. I'll be seeing you. And something happened. For 4 minutes, the noise in Jim's head stopped. He just listened. And for the first time since coming home, he felt something. Not happiness, but peace. Brief, fleeting, but real. He played that song over and over, then other Frank Sinatra songs. Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week. Nancy, with the laughing face, put your dreams away. The music didn't fix him, but it gave him moments, small pockets of calm in the chaos, and that was enough to keep going. One more day, then another, until he'd made it a month without thinking about ending it. That's when Jim decided to write the letter. March 4th, 1946. Jim sat at his kitchen table, started writing. Dear Mr. Sinatra, you don't know me. My name is James Sullivan. I'm 28 years old. I live in Hoboken, same neighborhood you're from. I was in the war, 101st Airborne. I saw things I can't unsee, did things I can't undo. And when I came home, I couldn't find my way back to being the person I was before. I couldn't sleep, couldn't work, couldn't connect with anyone. I felt like I was drowning, and everyone kept telling me to snap out of it or be grateful you're alive. But I didn't feel alive. I felt like a ghost. Then one night, I heard you singing, I'll be seeing you on the radio. And for 4 minutes, everything stopped. The noise in my head, the fear, the guilt. It all just stopped. I've been listening to your music every night since then. It's the only thing that helps. The only thing that makes me feel like maybe I can survive this. I'm not writing to ask for anything. I just wanted you to know that your music is saving my life. One song at a time. Thank you. Sergeant James Sullivan, the 101st Airborne, Hoboken, New Jersey. Jim folded the letter, put it in an envelope, addressed it to Frank Sinatra, care of Columbia Records, New York, NY. He walked to the mailbox, hesitated, then dropped it in. Didn't expect a response. Didn't even know if Frank would see it. But he'd said what he needed to say, and that was enough. March 11th, 1946. Frank Sinatra's office, Midtown Manhattan. His secretary, Gloria, sorted through mail. Hundreds of letters every week. Fan mail, interview requests, business inquiries. She opened one envelope, read the first line, stopped, read the whole thing. She knocked on Frank's office door. "Frank, you need to read this." "I'm busy, Gloria. Can it wait?" "No. Read it now." She handed him the letter. Frank read it. His jaw tightened. He read it again. Then he looked up. "Do we have his address?" "It's on the envelope." "Get me paper. I'm writing back." Gloria was surprised. "You're going to respond personally?" "Yeah, right now." Frank sat at his desk, started writing. "Dear Jim, I got your letter. I read it 3 times. First, thank you for your service. I can't imagine what you went through over there. But I'm grateful men like you were willing to go. Second, I'm glad my music helps. But Jim, music isn't enough. You need real help, professional help. Have you talked to anyone at the VA? I know you said they gave you pills, but I'm not talking about pills. I'm talking about someone who can listen, someone who understands what you're going through. I have a friend, Dr. Martin Cohen, psychiatrist, works with veterans. Good man. I'm going to call him and tell him about you. He'll reach out. Talk to him, please. And Jim, if you ever need anything at all, you call me. I'm putting my private number at the bottom of this letter. You're not alone. Frank Sinatra." Frank sealed the letter, added his private phone number, handed it to Gloria. "Mail this today, and get me Dr. Cohen on the phone." March 18th, 1946, Jim's apartment. The phone rang. "Hello? Is this James Sullivan?" "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is Dr. Martin Cohen. I'm a psychiatrist. I work with veterans. Frank Sinatra asked me to call you." Jim's heart stopped. "Frank Sinatra asked you to call me?" "Yes. He received your letter, and he's concerned about you. He thinks I might be able to help." I don't have money for a psychiatrist. Frank's taking care of it, for as long as you need. Can you come to my office?" Jim was silent. "Mr. Sullivan, why would Frank Sinatra do this? He doesn't even know me." "Because he cares, and because he understands that veterans deserve support. Will you come?" Jim's voice cracked. Yes, I'll come." March 1946 to September 1946. Jim started seeing Dr. Cohen twice a week. At first it was hard, talking about the war, the fear, the guilt. I lost men under my command. Good men. They died. I lived. Why? Dr. Cohen didn't have easy answers. Survivor's guilt is real, and it's heavy. But Jim, their deaths aren't your fault, and your life isn't wasted by being alive. Slowly, over months, Jim started to heal. Not cured, healing. The nightmares didn't stop, but they became less frequent. The shaking didn't disappear, but it became manageable. He got a job, dock worker, physical labor. It helped. Every month he wrote to Frank. Updates, progress, gratitude. Frank always wrote back. Short notes, encouragement. "Proud of you, Jim. Keep going. One day at a time. You're doing great. You're stronger than you think." In September 1946, Dr. Cohen told Jim something important. You've made incredible progress. But I think you need something else now. What? Community. Other veterans who understand. You're not alone in this. But you're isolated. That needs to change. November 5th, 1946. Jim got a telegram. Jim stopped performing in NYC. November 12, stop you and any veteran friends are my guests. Stop front row, stop Frank. Jim stared at it. Frank Sinatra was inviting him to a show, front row, and he could bring other veterans. Jim called Dr. Cohen. I got a telegram from Frank. He's inviting me to his show, and other veterans. That's wonderful. I'm scared. Of what? Of, I don't know, crowds, people. What if I have a panic attack? Jim, you've been managing your symptoms for months. You can do this. And if you need to leave, you leave. But go. Experience something good. Jim thought about it. Then he called 3 other veterans from a support group he'd joined. Frank Sinatra is giving us tickets to his show, front row. You in? All 3 said yes. November 12th, 1946, the Paramount Theater, New York City. Jim and 3 other veterans arrived at 7 p.m. They were nervous, overwhelmed by the crowd, but a man in a suit approached them. James Sullivan? Yes. I'm George Evans, Frank's publicist. Follow me. He led them through the theater, to the front row, 4 seats, reserved. Frank wanted you here. Enjoy the show. At 8 p.m., the lights dimmed. The orchestra started. Frank walked onto the stage. The crowd screamed. Frank smiled, waved. Then his eyes scanned the front row. He saw Jim, made eye contact, gave a small nod. Jim's eyes filled with tears. Frank performed for 90 minutes. Every song was perfect. But halfway through, Frank did something unexpected. He stopped between songs. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a moment to acknowledge some special guests tonight. 4 veterans, men who served our country, who fought for our freedom. They're sitting right here in the front row. He gestured to Jim and his friends. The entire theater stood up, applauded. For 2 full minutes, Jim and the other veterans stood, overwhelmed, crying. Frank waited until the applause died down. Thank you for your service. We owe you everything. Then he sang I'll Be Seeing You, looking directly at Jim. After the show, George Evans came to get them. Frank would like to see you backstage. They followed him. Frank's dressing room. Frank was still in his tuxedo, smoking a cigarette, relaxed. Jim Sullivan. Mr. Sinatra. Frank stood up, shook his hand. Call me Frank and introduce me to your friends. Jim introduced the other 3 veterans. They talked for 30 minutes about the war, about coming home, about struggling to adjust. Frank listened, really listened. Then he said something that changed everything. You guys need jobs? They looked at each other. We all work, but it's not steady. How would you feel about working for me? What? I need security, drivers, logistics, guys I can trust. And I trust veterans. You interested? Jim's voice cracked. Frank, we're not trained for that kind of work. You're trained to handle pressure, to think under stress, to have each other's backs. That's exactly what I need. Pay is $50 a week, plus benefits. And if you need time off for medical appointments or bad days, you take it. No questions asked. The 4 veterans looked at each other, then back at Frank. Yes, we're interested. Good. Start Monday. Over the next 14 years, Frank Sinatra quietly hired dozens of veterans. Not as a publicity stunt, not for press coverage, just because he believed veterans deserved support. Jim Sullivan worked for Frank until 1960. Security, logistics, eventually tour manager. The other 3 veterans stayed too. They became part of Frank's core team, loyal, dedicated, grateful. And Frank kept his word. Bad days? Take time off. Medical appointments? No problem. Nightmares? We understand. In 1952, Jim got married. Frank was at the wedding. In 1954, Jim and his wife had their first child. Frank sent a gift and a note. Congratulations, Jim. You've come a long way from that letter in 1946. Proud of you. When Jim Sullivan died in 2003 at age 85, his obituary mentioned many things. His service in World War II, his marriage of 51 years, his 3 children, 7 grandchildren, his career working for Frank Sinatra. But the last line was what mattered most. Jim Sullivan lived a long, full life. He almost didn't. In 1946, he wrote a letter to Frank Sinatra, and Frank wrote back. That letter saved his life, and for 52 years after, Jim lived to honor that gift. Frank Sinatra got a letter from a veteran. What he did next became legend. Not because it was flashy, but because it was real. One letter, one response, one life saved. That's not fame. That's humanity.